What is going on, everybody? Tacktop Airsoft back with another exciting video. First of all, thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed, and let's continue that sub train. We are still doing a giveaway at 1,000 subs if we can get there before December 25th. So hit that subscribe button, join the Discord. All you gotta do to be entered in the giveaway, and hopefully we get there before December 25th, and we'll be giving away a brand new Tokyo Marui recoil shock upgraded by Eagle 6 Airsoft and spray painted by yours truly. But with that out of the way, on to the topic of the video, which is HPA, or high pressured air. Honestly, my favorite way of running any form of airsoft setup. It allows me to have the most control over my replica and be able to fine tune the FPS, the rate of fire, all that to my liking. So if you're thinking about getting into HPA, stay tuned for this video and hopefully we can help you make your decision. The first step to HPA, and probably the biggest price gouge there, is your tank and regulator. These are the most important parts of your setup because it allows you to actually use HPA. Yes, there are things such as tank stocks for your replica, or the new Polarstar, new-ish Polarstar CO2 capsule that goes in the back of your airsoft gun, but traditionally tank and regulator on your back is going to be your go-to. And with this, there are a few different entry points. The first being steel, which is primarily cheaper than a carbon fiber tank, but a lot heavier. And then, as I just spoiled, you have carbon fiber, which is a lot lighter, and when you have something on your back that you're playing with, it really does save you a lot of energy, and your back will thank you. As you can tell, my opinion is go with carbon fiber. I would save up a little bit of extra money and invest in a carbon fiber tank over a steel tank. For one, you can hold more air for less weight, and it's so light, it's basically not even there on your back. So save yourself some future back pains and save up a little extra money. And before you're ready to get into HPA, have the budget set aside for a carbon fiber tank. The tank and regulator will cost almost as much as our first entry on this HPA iceberg step stool, however you want to put it, but it is the most important part, and you don't want this to fail. So invest a little more in the tank and regulator. This tank right here costs about $200. You can get it cheaper for about $170, and this regulator right here costs about another $100. So you're looking at about a $300 investment for your tank and regulator. Yes, you can go lighter and cheaper and get that cost down to about $150. But this is my preferred setup, and this is where most of my money went when I first started HPA. Our first entry point into the HPA goodness is an HPA tapped pistol. Especially if your field is CQB or primarily close quarters, I think this is your best and cheapest bet. It has the best performance and the best bang for your buck because you can fine tune this with aftermarket parts that you save by deciding to go with something a little cheaper over something expensive. This is a representative of a Glock style platform. This doesn't really take Glock mags. I had to do some special work for it, but it's what I have right here, and that goes on to my recommendation. I feel like you should get yourself a high Kappa or a Glock or the AAP 01. All those have a lot of aftermarket parts for them and a lot of HPA adapters on hand. Basically what you do is you have your gas bullet pistol, you replace the magazine with one of these. It has a little tube in the back for your line to fit on. Click it in place, add your airline right here to the back, cock it back, and you're ready to go. Just that simple. You have yourself an HPA rifle. You don't have to worry about, sorry, not rifle, pistol. Don't have to worry about your mags getting super cold and your performance falling down. Another addition I want to throw in there is something like the G&G SMC9. can get this HPA tapped as a pistol. Later down the road, get the carbine kit for you, and then you have yourself a small little HPA primary right here that works perfect in CQB and all that. Same thing with the high kappa and the Glock. If you look on the web, there are plenty of carbine conversion kits to it that you can get later down the road if you want something a little bit longer. But with that, I think that is our first step into getting into HPA. It'll last you a while. Super fun. You get the blowback still of a gas blowback, but the consistency of HPA. If you want to step up your game a little bit, we have our next entry, the Polarstar Kythera. So basically, it takes your AEG and turns it into a fully mechanical HPA system. What does that mean? Fully mechanical means that there is no battery, FCU, or trigger board to have to worry about. It is just the engine itself and the airline. If you look here, we have this little tab right here. This resets the Kythera. And then when you have air connected to it, you hear this click. That is the trigger going off and pressing down on the little trigger bar on the Kythera. That allows air to go into your replica and shoot your BB out. The Kythera is a little tricky to set up. You have to worry about sear screws and adjustment screws and disconnectors and things like that, but Polarstar has a very helpful video online of how to set up and fine-tune your Kythera for you. I love the Kythera for DMR builds or when I want to get a little bit of realism because, like again, you have your trigger and just like a real firearm, you get a nice wall, and then pressing past that wall has the trigger break. Oh. Pressing past that wall has the trigger break. You get that nice click, and if there's air attached to it, when I let off the trigger, you'll hear that reset too. Most fields only allow semi-auto, so the fact that the Kythera is a semi-auto only platform doesn't really bother me because I'll be using semi-auto anyways. It is a super quiet setup. You put something like this foam-filled suppressor on top, and it's virtually impossible to hear these BBs come out. The main noise from this comes from that trigger, but when you fire it off, it is dead quiet. And we'll have gameplay of this build right here posted up on the channel within the next week or two, so stay tuned for that. But the Kythera will run you about $100 or $250-ish, being the cheapest intro besides HPA tapping a pistol we have. If you have an old broken AEG lying around, you can pick up the Kythera. They have them for both AKs and M4s. Just look on the website at which version it is. The V2 is for M4s and their version 2 gearbox. The V3 is for AKs and their version 3 gearbox. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's go on to our next tier on this HPA iceberg, which is grabbing yourself a Polarstar jack. When I first looked into getting into HPA, I just got a bunch of AEGs. Make sure that the gearbox is version 2 compatible. You'll see that on most websites in the description if it's version 2 compatible, because that will line up perfectly with your Polarstar jack. They make them for both M4s and AKs. Very popular brand, and I feel like everyone who is looking into HPA and playing airsoft has themselves an M4 or an AK. Basically what you do, you remove the gearbox, gut out all the good internals of that AEG, put them in a bag somewhere for later. Then you're going to throw your HPA engine into the gearbox. You'll put the trigger board where the trigger board was from your previous rifle. You'll gut out the good old internals, throw your HPA engine in the gearbox. It'll come with a trigger board most of the time. You'll put that right where the trigger goes. There's a little micro switch there that the trigger will press on, kind of like an AEG, but instead of sending the power to your motor to turn your gears, it sends the power to the HPA engine to fire. Yeah. So it's a very simple procedure to do. Gives you a little bit of intro to tech work of taking apart a gun. There are many tutorials on YouTube for how to take apart an AEG, but if you want to see yours truly do it, for my channel members, I have posted videos for them to see. Sooner or later they'll come out to everybody else, but being a channel member gets you that type of content super early, so you can watch me put together a Polar Star build. So we talked about the basic Polar Star jack, but the joy of finally moving from a Kythera into a single or dual solenoid HPA engine is that trigger board, because a lot of these HPA engines have compatible trigger boards. This right here is a Polar Star jack build, but instead of using the Polar Star trigger board, I use the Gate Titan 2 Bluetooth. That allowed me to pair this with the Gate ecosystem. You see right here, if I angle this back, we have the Gate status, which is basically a computer for your gun, and it gives you cool things such as a mag counter, BB in your mag counter, BB's fired counter. It counts your steps, counts your calories burned. It has a gyro to make sure your airsoft gun is completely vertical. A lot of amazing stuff with the Gate status. And by getting the jack instead of the F2, F1 Fusion engine, save me up some money so that I can incorporate some of these Gate products in here. So we have the status right there. We have the Gate Quantum Trigger right here. If I wanted to do the Gate Bolt Catch, there's a slot on the trigger board for me to add a bolt catch into the system and all that. So my biggest plus for going to a Polar Star jack rather than a Kythera is you get your full auto capabilities back. You get access to a bunch of different trigger boards and FCU. Gorilla is another example of a up-and-coming trigger board FCU brand that is compatible with Polar Star, Wolverine, and all that. Moving on to the last of what I have in my collection is the Polar Star F2. In my personal opinion, I haven't had any hands on with the Fusion engine, but from my research of what I've done, I feel like the F2 is probably your cap. Unless you're a HPA enthusiast, expert at knowing everything about HPA engines, then maybe the Fusion engine is for you. But for me, throwing this into a AEG is all that I need. The F2 is a dual solenoid engine. What does that mean? Unlike the jack that has one solenoid allowing air to go into the nozzle, dual solenoid has 2 points of contact for that. That allows you to adjust things like your nozzle depth and where your nozzle sits. I forgot the terms. I think it's closed bolt and open bolt. I forgot which is which, but one allows the nozzle to permanently rest forward, and when you press the trigger, it goes back real quick, then forward again to load the BB in, then shoots out the air. The other has the nozzle resting backwards so that the BBs are already in place, and it just goes forward, shoots it out, goes back, another BB feeds in. Personally speaking, I like it with the nozzle forward, easy for nozzle alignments, but higher tension mags might put some unneeded pressure on your nozzle. So in that sense, you have the option to either have it closed or open. Besides that, it does everything your jack does with those 2 levels of adjustment more, just giving you a finer tuning of your air efficiency. The F2, speaking of air efficiency, is a little more efficient with air usage than the jack, allowing you to, I guess, play longer. You'll run out of air less quickly, and with those fine-tuning adjustments, you can run it at a lower PSI and get similar performance that way. But yeah, besides that, everything the jack can do, the F2 can do. You can interchange it with fire control units or FCUs and trigger boards and have all the fun there. But yeah, that is my opinion on HPA and a little small step stool of how to get from buying your tank regulator to possibly what you want your finished product to be. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something from the video. Sorry for a shorter video this week. Still working out some things. Hopefully we have a new addition to the channel and another day of sending out videos to you guys. But with that out of the way, we'll be playing at Rats this up and coming weekend. So if you're in town, want to come play with us, come join us. I'll be showing off some of the builds that I showed off here to get some first tests and first impressions on those. So yeah, look forward to that. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you really enjoyed the video and it's within your means, hit the join button. It costs $5 a month to join. You get access to badges and some early content of things such as me setting up builds and all that. But yeah, stay safe, have fun, play airsoft. This is Tacked Up, signing out.